On this second segment with you, all right, we're going to be flipping back and forth with some videos that are coming in. All right, now the first one that I've got up is this Russia Today video. Can you give us a little background, and then I'll turn the video on so everybody can see what you're talking about.
Yeah, in September 2007, Mother Jones magazine published a long article on the issue of FBI informants and entrapment. And they're critical of the FBI. We've spoken about it before. And I'd like to show some clips of interviews with the author on Russia Today television, and with the author and a former FBI, a retired FBI agent, who agrees with this approach on Democracy Now! Show. And then I'd like to comment and analyze what they're saying.
The vast
Okay, so
majority
here we
of
go.
the cases we looked at, of the 500 cases, and in particular the sting operations that we looked at, most of these men did not have any capacity to commit the crime. And where this gets into a question is when you mention entrapment, it's important to understand that the legal definition of entrapment is often different from what you and I would think of as entrapment. So when we read these cases, an average person might say, yes, this person was entrapped. But in the United States, the legal definition, or meeting the legal definition of entrapment in court, is incredibly difficult, if not impossible, for the best defense attorneys.
Was how the profile that we were able to kind of come to of targets in these sting operations. In many cases, these are people who are on the fringes of society. They are economically desperate. They are not the smartest of people. And in many cases, they have very crude and elementary understandings of Islam, all of which the informant is.
Turn now to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or is it the Bureau of Instigation? That's the question raised by a new expose in Mother Jones magazine called The Informants. According to the article, the FBI has built a massive network of spies to prevent another domestic terror attack. But it suggests these spies are not only busting terrorist plots, they're actually organizing them, so the FBI can later claim victories in the so-called war on terror. Over the past year, Mother Jones and the investigative reporting program at the University of California, Berkeley, examined more than 500 terrorism-related cases. Their probe found that nearly half of the prosecutions involved the use of informants, many of them incentivized by cash rewards of up to $100,000 per assignment.
Back, everybody. All right, with Richard Horowitz. And, hey, Rich, you know, we discussed a lot of different things here, all right, through this. You know, they discussed the case upstate, you know, and they said the guy was too dumb, didn't have the wherewithal to do all this, you know, and, you know, go ahead. Take it away.
All right, I'll give you my analysis of this and my critique. First, you heard Trevor Aronson, the author of the original report, saying that our definition of entrapment could be different than the legal definition of entrapment. The legal definition of entrapment is what's important. You're free to call that activity anything you want, trick, trap, entrap, but if you want to use the word entrap, you then can't criticize the FBI in court for entrapment. You heard both of these individuals saying none of those defendants had the means or the capacity to carry out the attack on their own. And that's their definition of entrapment, but that's not what entrapment is. In the Mother Jones article, they made the argument that even FBI agents admit they don't know how many individuals would not have crossed the line without the FBI's help. Now, that argument makes some measure of sense, but that's because it's not a complete thought. The complete assessment of that would be that we also don't know how many of those individuals would have crossed the line if they were approached by an Al-Qaeda operative. So if someone displays an intent to commit an act of terrorism or any other crime for that matter, I would rather have an FBI operative follow up with him than an Al-Qaeda operative follow up with him. And what the Trevor Aronson said that came to him as a surprise after his year-long investigation is that these people are economically desperate and not the smartest and don't have the means to do it themselves and don't understand the Quran. I don't know why that comes as a surprise, but his point was that that's how the FBI exploits them. But I would rather have the FBI being the ones doing that than an Al Qaeda operative doing that. And his point that these cases are difficult to prove in court, that's not accurate. It's not that they're difficult to prove in court. There are certain things that are that you know happened, but are difficult to prove in court for all sorts of reasons. It's not that these cases are difficult to prove in court. Entrapment didn't happen, so the defense isn't a valid defense. It's not that it happened, but they can't prove it. It's that it didn't happen, because as you noticed, with all the different examples we've used, their focus is on the FBI provided the means for these individuals to carry out an attack that they thought would happen. But they never talk about how the FBI got engaged with these people, other than saying some informant informed on them. But it always starts with that individual expressing a desire to commit the attack. And that's what they leave out. Now, they're not being the smartest. You don't have to be that smart to park a car bomb, or what you think is a car bomb, near a U.S. military recruiting center, walk away and press a bomb. You don't have to be that smart. So when it comes to entrapment, they're using the wrong definition. And I think we should be thankful that the FBI is doing a good job, and they're the ones engaging with people who are expressing an intent to commit terrorism, and as opposed to an Al-Qaeda operative.
All right, Rich, we're a little over on time here. We got to get you out of here. Thanks for coming on to the program this morning, and as usual, every week. And we'll see you next week.